Welcome to another edition of Strangeland. In this episode, we're discussing the haunting tales of the RMS Titanic. The RMS Titanic was built in Belfast in March 1909 and completed April 2nd of 1912. Fitted with the most state-of-the-art accommodations of its time, Titanic was a floating palace. Thousands packed the pier as they waved goodbye to loved ones. Captain E.J. Smith stated that this would be his last voyage. Little did he know that he would be right. The wealthiest of Titanic's passengers, the first and second class, were given the best that money could buy, whereas the third class passengers, mainly immigrants, were just given the simplest of foods, the simplest of entertainments, and were not allowed up on the upper decks past certain times. The Titanic's builder and designer, Bruce Ismay, claimed that the ship was unsinkable and stated that God himself cannot sink this ship. On a cold night in April, fate would test that notion. As the Titanic struck an iceberg, it sent hundreds of its passengers into the icy waters of the Atlantic. Out of the 2,200 passengers that were on the Titanic, 1,500 would perish and only 709 would survive. After discovering the wreck in 1987, explorers extracted a piece of the hull and various items belonging to deceased passengers from the seafloor. But the following stories will suggest that they brought back a lot more and that there's still raw emotion surrounding the incident. The novel, The Wreck of the Titan, was written in 1898 by Morgan Robertson. The story focused on a fictional ocean liner that sinks in the North Atlantic after striking an iceberg. The Titanic and Titan shared similarities. Both were the biggest ships ever built. Both ships was 800 feet long. Both ships were quoted to be unsinkable. Both ships had a shortage of lifeboats. Both ships were stuck on the starboard side, and both ships lost over half of its passengers and crew. These events led many to believe that Robertson held a psychic ability, but Robertson himself denied such claims, stating it's just a work of fiction. White Star Line President Bruce Ismay urged Captain Smith to go faster so they can make it to New York ahead of schedule. Against his gut instinct and numerous iceberg reports, Captain Smith agrees. Ismay snuck onto a lifeboat, and it is said he kept his back to the sinking ship so he didn't have to witness his failure and the tragedy he left behind. At the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas hangs a picture of Bruce Ismay. Staffers and guests alike have reported seeing the picture shake and come off the wall. Is that the ghost of Bruce Ismay, ashamed of his own cowardice? Or is that the passengers of the Titanic he left behind, and they don't want to be reminded of the men who failed them? Frederick Fleet, the Titanic's lookout on that night, failed to see the iceberg in time. Fortunately for him, he survived, but he would later go on the record stating if he had binoculars, he would have warned the captain sooner. He would suffer from depression and commit suicide later on in life, but his story doesn't end there. Visitors to the replica of the crow's nest at the Titanic exhibit have experienced cold spots, heard sounds, and seen orbs. Many believe that this is the spirit of Frederick Fleet still doing his duties. Many ships and submarines have reported mysterious electrical disturbances and phantom SOS signals when there's no other ships in the vicinity. Guests and employees alike have reported seeing apparitions, experiencing cold spots, being touched, and orbs. Employees who work past closing time have reported hearing phantom music being played. A guest is said to have seen a woman in a black period dress on the staircase. Thinking it was a reenactor, the guest asked the woman if she can take a picture. The woman in the black dress simply walked past and disappeared. A similar experience happened to a woman and her 2 kids. When her young son was was pointing to the woman on the staircase. The mother finally looked, and the woman had disappeared. Jack Phillips, the Titanic's wireless operator, was working on a backlog of messages from passengers to Cape Brace, Newfoundland. Cyril Evans, the SS Californian's wireless operator, sent Jack Phillips numerous iceberg warnings, which Jack Phillips ignored. Researchers can't agree if he survived the sinking or not, but many visitors have certainly felt his presence. Frantic sounds of someone sending Morse codes have been heard in the replica of the operator's room. A guest was reportedly touched, and the words "it's okay" was whispered in her ear. Was this the ghost of Jack Phillips finally letting go of his failure after 100 years? Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and if you liked what you've seen, please click and subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channel, and I will see you in the next installment.